What are some great budget-friendly whiskeys that you can gift your whiskey-loving family and friends this holiday season? Well, I've got you covered. I'm Jeff. This is G Whiskey. Stick around. All right, so budget-friendly whiskeys that enthusiasts love. This is a list that I put out around this time pretty much every year, and I do it for two sets of people. The first is for people who might be buying whiskey for family friends for the holiday season, and they need a little bit of help navigating the world. And the other is for people who are already whiskey enthusiasts who might want to rediscover some classics. So this will not be a video about lesser known bottles or hidden gems or anything like that. If you're already deep in the whiskey scene, chances are you know a lot of these bottles and you've tried a lot of them. But whether they're well known or not, good whiskey is good whiskey, and these are some bottles that I think offer some of the best bang for buck out there if you're not trying to spend too much, which is everyone? These are ordered from most expensive to cheapest, but as it is a budget-friendly list, we only start off at 65 US as the most expensive, and then we work our way down to, I think, just over $30. Prices I've got here are based off a lot of the biggest online retailers out of the UK, and I've used the conversion rate at the time of shooting, which is really just the best I can do. These all might end up being more expensive for you in your market. I really can't account for that, so don't yell at me in the comments. Or do what you want. And listen, I realize that $65 is already a good chunk of money for a lot of people to spend on a bottle of alcohol. But what can I say? Welcome to the world of single malt whiskey buying. This is a world where you either have to be very successful or financially irresponsible.
So which one are you, Jeff?
The first one. Definitely the first one. Definitely successful. Definitely not the other one. Now, for each whiskey, I'll give you three words that I think best describe the flavor profile. So I might say stuff like smoky or tropical. Maybe I'll give you some specific tasting notes. And those are to help guide you if you already know some of the preferences of the people you're shopping for. And as with all my videos, I do have a mystery pour in my glass here. Make sure you stick around at the end of the video. I'll share with you what that is. Your hint for today is that this is a whiskey that I recently reviewed on another much bigger and much more successful channel. Good luck guessing. Let's not waste any more time. Let's jump into this list. In the meantime, if you'll kindly leave a like down below, that'd be greatly appreciated. Okay, so kicking things off at the more expensive end of this video, coming in at $65, I've got the Glenglassaugh Sandend. Now, Glenglassaugh is a brand that recently reinvented their lineup and they came out with 3 new releases, and this Sandend is easily my favorite of the 3. This whiskey is no age stated. It comes in at 50% ABV. Our casks are bourbon, sherry, and manzanilla. And I would describe this profile as coastal, buttery, and rich. And as far as I'm concerned, it's worth every penny of that $65 price tag. It's a great whiskey. Glenglassaugh Sandend. Next up at number 9, and also coming in at around 65 US dollars in the UK, this is a very popular whiskey and it deserves to be. I've got the Port Charlotte 10-year-old. This one is a fan favorite for good reason. This whiskey is out of Islay. Islay is an island in Scotland that specializes in peaty, smoky whiskeys, which this is. And I would say this is probably one of the best regarded Islay whiskeys among enthusiasts. This gives us a robust 50% ABV. It's been matured in first and second fill American whiskey casks, as well as second fill French wine casks. And I do think those French wine casks add a little bit of pop, bit of complexity. I would describe this whiskey as complex, smoky, and fruity. And I think that if you're trying to impress with a truly excellent peaty whiskey while not overspending, this is a great option. You really can't go wrong here. Again, I think it deserves all the praise it gets. It's a stunner. Port Charlotte 10. Next up at number 8, we've got the Old Pulteney Huddart. This one comes in at 57 US, and this is from a brand that I do like, but I think this bottle in particular is a very unique experience. Now, this is not a super popular whiskey. It's not big in enthusiast circles, but I think it should be. I think it deserves more love. Our casks here are ex-bourbon and ex-peated Islay casks, so possibly from Kalila. We don't really know. They don't tell us. This one comes in at 46% ABV, and I would describe the profile as gently smoky, salty, and buttery. I think this is a great option if you're shopping for people who like coastal whiskeys, and I'm one of those people, so not surprising that I do enjoy this whiskey. Yeah, it's really good stuff. Old Pulteney Huddart. Next up, we've got a whiskey that is incredibly popular, possibly too popular. This one comes in at $52. This one is the Arran 10. This is a whiskey that I always describe as being rounded and pleasant enough for beginners, but also complex and interesting enough for enthusiasts, and I stand by that. This gives us a respectable 46% ABV. It's been matured in both bourbon and sherry casks, and I would describe this whiskey as fruity, vibrant, and complex. Certainly complex for the age and for the price. This bottle has won award after award. It's a darling in enthusiast circles, and it makes sense. It's great bang for buck, and it's a crowd pleaser. I think it's a great pickup for the holiday season. Comes in at number something, Arran 10. Next up at number 6, we've got the Ardnamurchan AD. This one sells for $50 US, and this is a bottle that's near and dear to my heart. Now, Ardnamurchan is a distillery in the Western Highlands, and they're pretty new. They only started distilling back in 2014, I believe. Since then, the brand has established itself as a fan favorite. It's pretty big in enthusiast circles already. Our AD bottle here gives us 46.8% ABV. This is gently peated, and it's been matured in a combination of bourbon and sherry casks. However, this doesn't lean too much into those casks, meaning the beautiful distillate really shines through here. I would describe this whiskey as fruity, coastal, and gently smoky. Add to that the fact that we have a great texture to this, as well as the fact that it tastes older than it actually is. I think this is a great whiskey. It comes in at number 6, Ardnamurchan AD. Next, coming in at number 5 and also coming in at the $50 price point, I've got Bunnahabhain 12. Now, this is a whiskey that, I'll be honest, I drink less of nowadays than I used to. Maybe it's me, maybe I'm getting snobbier, or maybe I just don't like it quite as much as I did prior to the rebrand that happened a few years ago, but whatever the case, it's still a phenomenal whiskey. This gives us 46.3% ABV. It's been matured in a combination of bourbon and sherry casks with a particular emphasis on the sherry. This is a very sherried whiskey. I would describe it as rich, fruity, and nutty, and another one that's just great bang for buck, worth every penny of that $50. So it's number 5, Bunnahabhain 12. At number 4, we've got an interesting pick because this is not a whiskey that I personally love, but it is incredibly popular. A lot of enthusiasts really enjoy this one. So I think it's just me and the way I get along with the profile. Either way, coming in at $45, I've got Loch Lomond 12. This one gives us a 46% ABV. It's been matured in first fill bourbon barrels, refill bourbon barrels, or American oak hogsheads, and charred American oak barrels. This is a whiskey that's extremely characterful. I would describe it as dirty, rich, and unique. And yeah, the Loch Lomond character really is a profile like no other. As I said, for me, it's a like, but it's not a love, but it's got a lot of fans out there that are really passionate about it. So I do think it's worth recommending. It comes in at number 4, Loch Lomond 12. At number 3, I've got the Ardbeg Wee Beastie. This one comes in at $42, which is cheap. And cheap, of course, is always a good thing, but especially when we're talking about Islay. Islay tends to be more expensive than a lot of other Scotch whiskey regions, and even Ardbeg itself tends to be kind of expensive as a brand. So this one, great price point and great whiskey. This gives us a 46% ABV. It's been matured in both bourbon and sherry casks, although the casks are not too heavy here because at 5 years old, it's mostly that loud, peaty distillate talking. I would describe this whiskey as young, rugged, and smoky. And again, $42 for this I think is kind of absurd. It's a great deal. It's a great bang for buck whiskey. Comes in at number 3, Ardbeg 5. Next up at number 2, we have another very peated whiskey that comes in at $42, although this one takes us in a completely different direction than the Ardbeg. This one is not from the Isle of Islay, it's from the Isle of Mull, it's from the Tobermory Distillery. This one is the Ledaig Rioja cask finish. And unlike the Ardbeg, this one really leans into its casks. As the name implies, this has been finished in Rioja wine casks, and they were not subtle. So they give us a lot of sweet red fruit notes. This gives us a 46.3% ABV, and I would describe it as berries, sweet, and peat, because it definitely is on the sweeter side of peated whiskey. But if that works for you, if you like that sweet peat combo, there's not a lot of whiskeys out there that offer better bang for buck than this one. I think the value here is phenomenal, which is why it's number 2. Ledaig Rioja wine cask finish. All right, number 1 whiskey on this list is not the best. Keep in mind this list is not in order of preference, but in order of price, which means this one is the cheapest whiskey on this list. It comes in at $32. This one is the Glen Moray Chardonnay cask finish. And for the price, yeah, it's good. You'll all be shocked to learn that the Glen Moray Chardonnay cask finish has been finished in Chardonnay casks, but if you're looking for a different style of profile, Glen Moray actually has you covered because they have, of course, the Chardonnay one, but they have a series of others as well. So if you want a sherried one or a port matured one, they've got those too. Now, I should start by saying that none of these whiskeys are great whiskeys. They're all decent. They all come in at 40%. But again, when we look at the price and what we're getting for the price, these are all very rounded, easygoing whiskeys that I don't think a lot of people are going to dislike. Might not impress, but no one's going to dislike them. So are these enthusiast whiskeys? No, and no, they're not going to impress, but I do think they're solid options if you're really trying to stick to a tight budget. Add to that the fact that we have all these cask influences that you can choose from. You have a lot of different flavor profiles, so that kind of opens some doors for you as well. Personally, as I said, I like the Chardonnay best. So, Chardonnay, Chard all day. Hold on. At number 1, Glen Moray, whatever cask, take your pick. All right, that was the list, guys. I hope you enjoyed it. Those were affordable whiskeys that make great gifts for enthusiasts. And of course, that's all just opinion, and I'm happy if you want to add to it. So what do you think I missed? What do you think would fit in nicely here? Looking forward to reading your suggestions down below. Finally, if you stuck around for the mystery pour, I mentioned earlier that this is a whiskey that I absolutely love that I recently reviewed on a much bigger and much more successful channel. The whiskey I'm drinking is Glenglassaugh 13. Now, this is a bottle I feel like I'm talking about a lot recently. I swear they're not paying me. No one's paying me. But no, this was on a list I made, I think, just last week. Also, I recently reviewed it on the Whiskey Vault channel for their dry week. I was a guest host. Go check out that video if you haven't seen it. But yeah, love this whiskey. This was my first whiskey of the year on the channel. And all these years later, I'm still talking about it. I'm still raving about it because I think it's a phenomenal whiskey. And if we're talking about bang for buck whiskey that enthusiasts love, this one needed to be included in some way on the list. So I figured let's make it a mystery pour. Also, I wanted to drink it tonight. I always want to drink this stuff. I come back to it so often. Yeah, great stuff. Glenglassaugh 13. And that brings us to the end of today's video. Guys, thank you so much for watching. Looking forward to reading your comments down below. And if you want to help out the channel, I've got both Patreon and PayPal linked down below. Anything and everything helps. And if you're already helping, maybe you're a channel member, maybe you're on Patreon, massive thank you to you. And I suppose we'll catch you guys in the next video. Take care.